to Cricket Love Stories with me, Neel Khagram. Today we're joined by Nayan Doshi. Nayan, how's things going?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So Nayan, we're going to do a finger spin masterclass. You're going to show us some tips, tricks for all. But before we get into it, let's talk a little bit about your career. Your father, obviously, Dilip Doshi, played international cricket for India. So cricket's always been in the blood.
Yeah, I guess it has. Yeah, look, I'm very thankful and grateful to have a dad like that. So yeah, it's been good. He's I would say he's never forced me or anything to get into cricket. It's always been, if I enjoy the game, play it, and being around it since I was born, basically, it just became part of me as well, I guess. And and then I made a career out of it, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, professionally played some games in the Ranji Trophy in the UK, Surrey, Derby.
Yeah.
Talk us through it.
Yeah, well, I started off playing, club cricket in South Hampstead, and then eventually I, started improving, and I started going to a few counties and seeing if anyone was interested, and I got turned down quite a few times, as everyone does, and eventually, gratefully and really, it worked out really well. I got picked up by Surrey, and things went really well. I started off my career, on a high note, and actually a lot of people know me for white ball cricket, for T20 cricket, especially. But actually, at the beginning of my career, before my shoulder injuries, I was predominantly very successful in the 4-day game. I think that I was averaging about 26 bowling at the Oval, and bowling lots of overs and enjoying it. And, and then when my shoulder sort of started to cause me problems, I couldn't really bowl long spells. So it really affected me in that sense throughout my career. And therefore I sort of found white ball cricket a lot easier, where I could bowl 4 overs or 10 overs with the same venom, and and I wouldn't get tired. So slowly there was a shift made, into white ball cricket. I guess it was a coincidence or something, and then and that also then made me do well in the T20 over here, and then that basically I got lucky enough to play in the IPL for a few years. So yeah, it was a really good journey.
Yeah, how was the IPL as an experience?
Great experience, a lot of hard work, and really enjoyed it. Mixed with a lot of great players, which is always good. And yeah, it's you just learn every day, I guess, and that's the great thing about cricket.
And it's the year 2021. You put yourself forward again for the auction.
Yeah, let's see how it goes, and we can always hope for the best. I don't expect anything, but if someone looks my way, it will be nice. I'm still bowling really well, and I'm on top of my game, so it's always good to be there.
And you also run your academy in the UK. We'll put all the links in the description below. But yeah, talk us through it.
My academy, basically what I want to do is I want the kids, the boys and girls who I coach, basically to learn the deeper part of cricket, which is a very mental game as well, and also eventually, and I know this sounds crazy as a coach, but eventually for them to be very sort of self-reliant, so making them learn their own games and everything. And also I think what is very important is knowing yourself as a person, because if you know yourself as a person, you will be able to analyze yourself a lot better. But if you don't know yourself, then you will always get sort of stuck and looking for help from the outside instead of your own self. That makes sense?
Absolutely. Nayan, can't wait to get into these finger spin tips you have for everyone.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So for me, the most important thing for any bowler, whether it be spin, pace or anything, but right now we're going to focus on spin, is the run-up, because that's where really your process starts. So my process, for example, would start at the top of my mark here, and I can look at the batsman over there, and I know my path to the stumps, because it's something you know, hopefully people have practiced thousands of times, so it sort of gets ingrained. Because like I said, this is where everything starts, you know, and generally a lot of bowlers lose their run-ups, and then they lose their rhythm, and then, you know, their front arm goes, and your head drops and everything. And it's basically, for me, and I've noticed this a lot, is to do with the approach, you know. So this is basically like your foundation. Your run-up is your foundation. So if your run-up is inbuilt in you, very rarely then should you have problems with your action. The other two very important aspects for me regarding bowling is also the head, because the head is the heaviest part of the body, and basically it really controls everything. And I think in any sport at any level, you know, this also includes batting or anything. You look at the guys with really good head positions, their balance is always good. And the same thing with bowling. You know, a lot of guys, they come in and they're slightly like this. And if you're like this, automatically, you're not straight, you're bending. And I think the head is a very important tool to basically get your weight transfer going. So when you're here and straight, and your body is straight and your head is aligned as well, you're kind of coming straight through. And then automatically your weight carries you forward because your head is going forward. So I think the head going towards the wicket keeper and going straight to the target is extremely important. And another point I would like to touch on is the front arm. A lot of bowlers nowadays, when they bowl, when their front foot is dropped, this front arm is dropped. So generally people are bowling quite open shouldered, you know, and then they're just relying on this to do all the work. Whereas generally, if you look at bowlers, and I always say bowlers from sort of yesteryear, because I think technically they were superior to a lot of the spinners now, barring one or two exceptions, of course, is, you know, when the front arm is up, the front foot and the front arm should kind of basically, in my opinion, from what I've seen, should land together. So that is how it should be. So then you can actually go over your front leg and you are in the position to bowl. You know, so I'm totally aligned, sort of looking through my front arm, you know, and my head is still and straight. So I'm kind of coming through here, you know. I think obviously we've discussed spin bowling, and the most important thing is to try and spin the ball at any age, whether you're 10 or 50. You know, it's spin bowling is about spinning the ball, of course. And again, the grip is a very individual thing. You know, my grip is slightly different to the traditional grip where people really widen the grip and hold the ball like this. You know, my grip is slightly closed, and I use more of these 3 fingers, and of course try to spin the ball with, as you can see, the calluses on my fingers, with your, you know, first finger. And generally a lot of it is basically what I would advise youngsters and even older guys and girls, you know, is to basically, when you're trying to spin the ball, when you're releasing it, make sure that the ball is not so much in your palm, you know, because that will slow the ball down. So generally try to keep the ball away from your touching your palm, you know, so something like this, you know, and then, you know, basically you can see that your release is like that. The other thing what I would say is you can, going back to the palm, use that as a sort of variation, you know, where you can hold it in, you can hold it slightly deeper in so it is touching the palm like that, and you can use that because the ball will come out the hand slower. So sometimes it's a good variation to use. You should still try to bowl the ball with the same, you know, venom as you want to do, but naturally it will come out a fraction slower in the air just because it's going through and touching your palm. So generally, going on about the stock ball, is I would generally like to try and pitch the ball on, say, middle and off, middle stump, depending on the pitch, and try and spin it away and try and get the batsman caught at slip, you know. And that is the ball I would go to 95% of the time, you know. And it's an attacking line, and the length obviously is very important. And with that, obviously everyone talks about variations, talks about an arm ball, talks about many things. Now, for me, natural variation happens just from that spot itself. And to be quite honest, if you don't know what's going on, the batter's not going to know what's going on. So the balls which are bowling on middle and off middle stump, a lot of them will sometimes, depending on the surface, you know, the seam will be pointing, you know, for example, my seam hopefully will be pointing to first to second slip, and it will be spinning, but that same ball can also go straight on, and that is natural variation. And for me, that is probably one of the most dangerous tools, you know, we have as spinners. Yes, of course, there's a lot of talk about, you know, bowling the one which goes the other way and everything, but I really don't feel that's as important as mastering your stock ball and getting the ball to do things from that spot naturally. And I think a lot of great bowlers from the past have picked up a lot of wickets like that, you know. And to be honest, some top bowlers now do the same thing. You know, Ashwin, actually, a lot of people think he's bowling a variation ball, but a lot of the time he gets a lot of wickets with the ball just going straight on with the angle, and he's not really done anything different. The same with Jadeja, he does the same thing. You know, some balls which the seam is pointing to sort of second slip like this, and the ball is spinning, but it's just gone straight in with the arm. Again, just because of natural variation. Moeen Ali's had some success in doing that as well, where his ball is, again, his seam is pointing to sort of, you know, leg slip, and the ball is rotating nicely, and the ball is, instead of going spinning into the batsman, it's sort of just skidded straight on. So I think, and Lyon does that a lot as well. There is a lot of natural variation, and you know, and I think it's a great tool to have, you know, providing you're accurate and you're bowling an attacking line. Regarding flight, pace, spinning the ball, I think there's a lot of emphasis put on pace, you know, and I think everyone gets a little bit too carried away with that. I think the main thing is every bowler has a natural pace they bowl at, you know, and I think a lot of spinners these days, from what I see, you know, on the TV and generally just around cricket, people are trying to bowl very fast, and I think, you know, there is a fine line, because if you try and bowl the ball very, very fast as a spinner, you're not really going to be able to spin the ball, because you're not going to be able to get your finger to really wrap around the ball and, you know, give it that, you know, revolution to make it drop and bounce and kick in the air, you know. And I feel that every bowler needs to find the optimum pace on a wicket, adjust to the batsman, you know. I think that is a very important thing. And I think you know, as a spinner, you're never going to be quick enough where people are not going to be able to come down the wicket at you, because even guys who bowl 80 miles an hour, batsmen still come down the wicket and hit them, you know, over their head for six. So I think, you know, that is where a lot of people are going wrong, and I think it's a lot to do with length, because if you can hit the right length, you know, and get the ball to drop, because the main thing when a batsman is coming out is they will think the ball is landing here, but the deception, when the ball actually is dropping in the air, the ball should be landing about there. So it's landing literally 6 to 7 inches, you know, back to where they think it's landing here, and that's where you get people stumped, and that's where the deception happens in flight. And I think that is a very, very, I think that for me is one of the most important parts of bowling spin, is deceiving people in the air and generally in the length here.